Hey everyone, welcome back to MythVision. Today we're going to be talking about the one live stream where I apparently got cooked, fried, roasted, and grilled by the internet's orthodox presuppositional philosopher, Jay Dyer. Yes, the comment section on their videos, and he's posted several since the initial engagement, turn into a Christian 4th of July. I've never had more believers input, Derek got cooked, in all caps, and honestly, I do get it. They even show up on my videos, in my comment sections, on a regular because they can't deal with the content I'm engaged in. They keep going back to this example. But let me explain how this happened and why it doesn't mean what they think it means. So first, context. Literally, I was already 4 hours into a live stream. My brain was fried, my stomach was empty, and two guys were hounding me with a series of bizarre philosophical questions, but also other really strange questions that I don't even want to say on YouTube. That it was just an odd conversation if you haven't seen it. I even messaged the host, Jim Bob, privately on StreamYard around 2 hours and in the middle of this, and I was saying like, hey man, I'm hungry. Could you give me a respectful exit? I'd like to go eat. But apparently Jim Bob had activated host mode, ignore all exit requests. Or he wasn't paying attention because he kept running his own script like nothing happened on me. He was running a script. Neal was just chilling, watching this all unfold. I'm not even sure if he was literally paying attention or if he was watching his phone at this point. Like, it was 4 hours in. He's probably just looking down at his phone. I can't recall. So I'm tired. I want food. I'm done. And at this point, I'm even thinking like, dude, 4 hours, Jim Bob is probably done. Like, this guy is probably ready to wrap things up. And then all of a sudden, Jay Dyer shows up. I don't even know this guy. He shows up like a final boss, ready to fight. Nobody asked for. Like, he just pops in. And this was literally completely unexpected. I think Jim Bob maybe planned it. I don't know. Or it was just last minute. He gets a notification and brings this guy in. Jay comes in not to talk about manuscripts, Luke Acts, legends, history, or anything in my lane that I'm fully equipped to engage with. No, this is exactly how most of the presups guys do. They come in to talk about things I'm not acquainted with. So he comes in, he's literally swinging the full Darth Dawkins toolkit, script and all, right? So suddenly the debate shifts from what I wish it was, the resurrection, is it historical, did it happen, textual criticism, Bible, contradictions, whatever, in my lane, right? To account for logic, account for math, account for induction. If you can't, you lose. And I'm sitting there like, bro, I just wanted dinner. Literally. This is the classic presuppositional trap. And it's odd because this works for Muslims. Muslims can do it. So Jay's whole method can be applied to any other apologetic world, and they can justify their argumentation in a similar manner. Every conversation becomes the same infinite loop. You say, we evaluate evidence, is what you might say to someone like Jay. And Jay says, well, how do you know evidence exists? Or you say, we use logic. Jay says, how do you know logic is real? Or how do you justify logic? What are the metaphysical principles to justify this? Or you say, we compare sources. And Jay says, how do you justify comparison? Or you say, for example, can we please talk about the resurrection, dude? And Jay will say, no. Account for the metaphysical foundation of the entire universe. This is literally the script. It's the debate me bro online tactic, which is often why I've avoided debates. I enjoy dialogue. I enjoy communication. Debates feel like dick measuring contest for real. So it's like debating a magician is what it feels like, who keeps moving the table each time you put your cards down. It literally never ends. But my favorite personal moment was when Jay says, you use probability. Probability requires math. You must justify math. And I'm thinking, my dude, I came here thinking we would talk about ancient miracle stories, not to reinvent the laws of arithmetic live on stream while starving. But that's the point. Presuppositionalism wins by changing the sport mid-match, then calling it a victory. This is what they do. And I'm not skilled in presuppositionalism, especially not the latest, greatest. Then came the big gotcha moment. Christians love to quote at me. If all worldviews are man-made, then your worldview is man-made, and therefore there is no truth. Not even yours, Derek, right? And look, 4 hours in, hungry, drained, I didn't call out what was wrong with that. So let me do it now very clearly. Saying something is man-made does not mean it's false. Maps are man-made. They could be wrong, but not all are. Medicine is man-made. Some medicine's good and bad, right? Could be right or wrong. Science is man-made. The question isn't, was a human involved? The question is, does it match reality? It's simple. Calling something man-made is not a knockout punch. It's just vocabulary. Of course, I do personally think the Bible is strictly a man-made collection of texts without any God behind them or inspiring them. So when you hear like, "Thus saith the Lord," I immediately recognize that a human is the one saying that God says. It's a human saying God says. Even in the text, you might go, but that's when God narrates. Dude, a human wrote it. This is critical because God isn't actually speaking or writing these texts at all. These are humans saying God said such and such. So yes, I didn't look great in that exchange with Jay Dyer. I'm not going to even pretend that I looked great. I literally was frustrated and at the end of my wits during this final point. But not because Jay proved Christianity. Okay? Not because the resurrection suddenly has evidence. Not because the gospel stopped looking like legendary literature, my wheelhouse. It's because I let him switch the conversation, or at least lead the conversation, into a metaphysical escape room. I was tired, I was hungry, and I walked straight into the presuppositional blender. Like, these guys do this on a regular. And guess what? I got cooked. That's on me. And that's why I did a follow-up episode with an actual expert, a PhD philosopher, Alex Malpass. Love to see, Jay and him debate, let them have these exchanges, but allow Alex to talk. Let him reason, because that's often a thing that presups do, is cut you off as well. Someone like Alex who knew how to unpack all the silliness, the infinite how do you know loop, the bait and switch, the hidden circularity, the math trick, the everyone but me is arbitrary routine, and the whole orthodoxy explains everything because orthodoxy says it does argument. I mean, the guys just buy into their worldview, it becomes truth, and they set out to defend it at all costs. It's just how it seems to be, in my perception. Once an expert explained it cleanly, the whole thing fell apart like a bad Jenga tower. I mean, it was pretty obvious. So here's the takeaway for me, okay? I didn't get cooked by many people's standards. I got cooked by many people's standards. I'll just say I got cooked. I also was fatigued. I got hungry. I got dragged off topic by a man who believes the laws of logic personally correspond to the divine energies of the Trinity. For God's sake. But here at MythVision, we don't hide from these conversations, ladies and gentlemen. We learn from them. We bring experts. I'm not one. We clarify the tricks, and we get sharper every time. This isn't a gotcha, you're cooked, you're done for. That's what Christians that enter my chat occasionally seem to think of. No, so if you saw that exchange and thought, I took an L, it's because... an L as in a loss. It's because, in a sense, I did. So stick around and see where I grow and continue to learn. My understanding of real scholarship is simple. It's a conversation, not a script. It's a lifelong hunt for better explanations, not a preloaded conclusion. The best scholars in the world keep learning, revising, comparing, and improving. Presuppositionalists like Jay Dyer don't do that. They start with the answer already baked in and spend the rest of the conversation defending the script. And let's be honest, the exchange would have gone very differently if we had stayed inside my wheelhouse. Jay didn't want to talk about manuscripts, textual criticism, genre of the ancient world, contradictions, source criticism, ancient parallels, history, or the resurrection narrative. He wanted to talk about whether I can justify math. That tells you everything. But hey, it's all part of the journey, and MythVision is just getting warmed up. Next time, I won't be 4 hours deep into a stream running on fumes and wishing for a sandwich. And I won't be playing metaphysical whack-a-mole. If Jay ever wants a real conversation about the Bible, history, ancient context, going to primary sources, early Christianity, or textual scholarship, the things I actually do all the time, I'm happy to have him. We can stick to evidence, manuscripts, contradictions, sources, and ancient parallels. And then we can see who really gets cooked in that kind of conversation. But if the script he has is so ingrained that he'll ignore every piece of evidence because I can't first justify logic, math, induction, identity, and absolute certainty, then we're not talking about history anymore. At that point, no matter what I show, historical data, literary parallels, manuscript evidence, he'll simply retreat to the presuppositional safe zone and declare victory. And all of his sheep in his audience will still see me as cooked. So it really doesn't matter. Was I cooked? Yeah. I even say I was cooked, but that's fine. But keep in mind, what he's doing there, that's not scholarship. And that's not MythVision. Continue to be critical, continue to grow, and never forget, we are MythVision.